If you're looking for a companion, let this movie serve as an example of how not to do it. Why? Well, let's see, starting with the IMDb plot. A weekend getaway with friends at a remote cabin turns into chaos after it's revealed that one of its guests is not what they seem. Alright, things going wrong at a remote cabin. Always happens. Don't go to remote cabins. Go to occupied cabins. Well, that doesn't work either, but whatever. Um, anyway, let's see. Fairly new movie here, so I will try to be spoiler free. It doesn't really say it there, and I guess it kind of avoids it there in the description. But I'm going to have to give you one little detail about this movie, so it may be a slight spoiler if you really know nothing about it, which I knew nothing about. So when it kind of happened, I was like, oh, okay, this is where this movie's going. Um, so I guess I have to kind of give that away because otherwise, not much for me to talk about. Um, but after that, I'll kind of leave things for you guys to see again because it's a new movie. Um, but I guess if you've seen the trailer or read a little bit about it, you might know uh, what I'm going to say. You know what's happening in this movie. Um, but I'll try not to spoil anything else because it does kind of go back and forth, some twists and turns as it goes on. Um, but yeah, basically here you get a couple of couples here in this cabin. Kind of starts off the usual way. Seeing kind of the cast of characters we have here, the relationships between them all, and so forth. And it does do I would say that, besides if you're watching this review or not, it is better to kind of go into this movie not knowing much of what's going on. Um, because, the scene where it begins, kind of reveals what's going to start happening is pretty good scene here. And, a pretty good start to the chaos that kind of ensues from the rest of the film after that. And basically, like I said, you have the couples there, blah, 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 everything seems fine, you kind of meet them and so forth. And then an event happens. One of the girls uh, seems to have been attacked by one of the other guys there. And in the process, she ends up killing him. And, as this kind of happens, you're thinking, oh, okay, so the film is going to go down this road or, this kind of thing. But then shortly after that, you find out that the girl who killed the guy is a robot, is AI, is not real. So that kind of sets the stage for everything that happens afterwards. So, like I said, I want to kind of keep this spoiler free, so I won't, get into too much. But, obviously you're going to see, uh, you know, learn the story of why she is, a robot, why the guy has her as a robot. Learn about, the robots that are here, in this world, I guess this advancement here, probably a little bit more advanced than we are now, or, I think in some parts of the world, this kind of goes on sort of in a way. But, so we're going to learn about how, she came to be and with him because, you think at the beginning of the film, it's a normal couple. You might think that there's a slight thing off, but otherwise normal couple. But after that, obviously, that's going to set off a chain of events, and we follow those chain of events, as the movie goes on. Like I said, I don't want to get into any of that. I think I always, kind of give away a little bit here just by mentioning that it's artificial intelligence. But a bunch of craziness happens after that, and so forth. So, what to say about this movie without spoiling anything else? Well, I would say that I think towards the end of last year and so forth, and maybe there's probably some other movies out there that I didn't see, and we've kind of seen it here and there, but there's been a couple of these AI movies recently out, and I obviously think because it's such a big topic now, and so forth, that we probably see many more to come, especially in the horror world, sci-fi world. There's lots to do there, lots of craziness to unpack. Um, what is it? What was it called? It was Afraid, I think, was one, and there's the one with Megan Fox, which I reviewed. I think it was, what is it called? The Subservience. Did their kind of take on AI, and you know, uh, overall with some of the ones that I saw last year, none of them really kind of impressed me. The Megan Fox one was okay. Like there were moments and so forth, but I have to say, this one was definitely in the right direction, much more in the right direction, and while it was always a constant reminder that yeah, she's a robot, and so forth. I maybe I kind of liked it because the film didn't try to message. I don't necessarily think the Megan Fox one tried to message supremely, but it kind of just let it be. Just kind of showed it without hinting at, hey, this is what could happen. Obviously, this could happen, but wasn't trying to give a world message with the film. At least I didn't take it as that, and that was one plus. I think that other movie I mentioned was doing that a lot, and it was very annoying. But I think besides her being a robot, everything else kind of followed in a fun way. Like I said, there are a little bit of twists and turns. You kind of see, not everything is clear cut here. I think there are times that they make you kind of maybe root for her, maybe not root for her. Like I said, there are some other good twists and turns. I think you'll see some coming. It's not totally hidden, and oh my God, what a shocker. I think once you kind of see what's going on with her, it kind of opens your eyes, and then you're like, oh, okay, and then you might expect some of the other stuff that happens. But they definitely keep you on your toes. The movie keeps going after that. It does become darker as it goes. This is, it says, well, here on IMDb it says dark comedy. I don't necessarily think it was funny. I mean, maybe in a moment here or there. But it definitely has a dark tone to it in certain spots, and especially with what is overall going on here. Certainly when she kills the guy in the beginning, like I said, that's a really great scene and a great moment, because even though I kind of ruined it for you guys if you haven't seen the movie yet, but when you watch that scene, you don't really know what's coming, and they show her and she's just covered, or her face is just covered in blood. I'm always for the blood and guts, so that's a great moment. You're like, wow, look at her, she's got blood all over her, fantastic. This movie is going to go in the right direction, hopefully. But yeah, so I think everything they do. There's going to be like I said, there are twists and turns to the story, and a little bit back and forth. And I just liked what they did there. It ended up being a good story, and it kept you, it gave you some decent action. It's not like an action packed movie, but gave you enough there, gave you enough suspense. As this goes on, like I said, it does become a bit darker in the end. I will say other people do die. So we do have that. Again, not necessarily huge in the blood and guts. Like I said, her face did get bloody in the beginning. There is a moment or two of some blood, but it's not necessarily, it's not one of those movies that's necessarily about blood and guts. But there is a little bit there, so there will be at least one more death or two or so. So there is that. So I think definitely there's a great interaction between her and the guy she's supposed to love. She's a robot and she's programmed to love this guy. But there's just a great interaction between them throughout the movie, and the back and forth between them. And, I guess, as we kind of wind towards the end of this movie, I guess, they could have ended the movie once or twice, but, they kind of just let it go on. And not that the movie extends on, it's an hour and 37, so it's right in the ballpark there. But there just seemed like a moment or two where like, oh, it could end here, but then they kind of extended out. So that kind of kept you on your toes also as it kind of went on. But there's definitely a great interaction between them, those two characters, and the two actors. The two actors do really well. The woman who plays the robot here, the robot companion, she does a really good job. Really, embraces the role. And now, kind of thinking about the comedy, I guess that there is one or two moments. I think they do a really good moment there where. She can change languages and so forth, and they kind of play on that in a moment or two. There's one that actually does end up being a little bit funny, and then there's another one where being able to change her voice or whatever, kind of puts in some suspense and drama in that scene. So they do a decent job of incorporating some of the robot moments there as well. I guess it's not completely fluent. There's other times where you think, oh, well, she's a robot. Maybe, she shouldn't do this or that, and she is doing this or that. So, I think it's very hard. I think sometimes to stay, when you're having, obviously, a normal person play a robot, is very hard to stay a robot all the time. As hard as you try. But I think, she does a pretty good job of it. But it's not extreme robot. It's not, I think when you look at her in the way they have her play the role, it is not like, she has to be that stiff, moving robot all the time. She's supposed to be as normal as possible. I think when you watch, let's say, that Megan Fox movie that I mentioned, there's just a stiffness to her and a look in her that even though, she was trying to be human, she didn't necessarily have to be. Everybody clearly knew she was a robot. And she played it like that. You always kind of looked at her and she was always kind of like stiffish and so forth, even in scenes where, other stuff was happening, where she was supposed to be, kind of normal. But, you always looked at her as a robot. I think in this movie, you watch her and, there are times where you think, she's not necessarily a robot. I mean, you could have almost written this script and her not be a robot. Obviously, that was an important thing with certain things that happened and why certain things happened. But you almost could have done this and maybe, wrote out some of the robotness of it and just made it, as this movie. So it's kind of, you've almost seen this similar type movie, but you just insert it being a robot this time. So, I guess that's one way you could go about it. But overall, the reason why I saw this movie, didn't know too much about it, as I said, but saw a lot of good opinions of it. A lot of people seem to have liked it. It has a pretty good score here in IMDb. Over 25,000 ratings, and it's 7.2. So that's pretty good, and I know that it'll probably have some more ratings as it gets a further, more wide release here. But that's pretty good, especially to start the year. So, like I said, that's one of the reasons why I kind of jumped on it and watched it, because I saw a lot of people saying positive things about it. So I think otherwise, I don't know if I would have caught this one. Was kind of under the radar for me, but yeah, I think as far as the AI movie, especially with some of the recent ones I saw, this one is definitely better than those, and definitely a good, fun movie. Like I said, I think you'll like some of the direction of it, where it goes, the twists and turns. The acting is solid and so forth, and it doesn't go over the top with trying to give you any kind of message about robot. I think at the end of the day, like I said at the top, it may give you pause if you're looking for a companion, and especially in a companion in this way. It may give you pause in it to what you're doing or what you're thinking here. Anyway, so I think at the end of the day, I'm gonna give it 4 pools of blood. I really enjoyed the movie. Thought there was a lot to like about it. Um, is it to say, I know it's early in the year, early in the year. Is it, am I excited about it to the point, hey, this is gonna be on a top 10 list? I don't know. We're on that search already. We're at the beginning of the year. I know. I've kind of been cleaning up and doing a lot of videos of some of the movies that I missed towards the end of the year, last year. But we're early. We're getting the ball rolling. There's a couple of movies that are coming out. I'm really looking forward to seeing. So I don't know that I'm excited in that way, but I think this was a good, really solid movie here at the beginning of the year. So we'll see where we go from here. So that's going to be 4 pools of blood out of 5 for this one. So horrorscorereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written in videos. Certainly tons of video reviews for a while now. So if you want, you can just like and subscribe here on the channel and do everything that everybody wants you to do here on YouTube. If not, no worries. It is okay. I thank you for your time regardless. And Twitter, Facebook information down below. If you want to join me there, talk horror, movie, this movie, other movies, or you're looking for me to review something. And definitely in the comments section, once you guys kind of catch this movie, feel free to share your thoughts there. And with that, I will catch you in the next review, horror fans.